Welcome to Demolition Success Secrets, the podcast that's changing the game for demolition businesses everywhere. Ever wondered how a wrecking ball wielding industry can leverage digital marketing to dominate their market? Well, we've got the blueprints, strategies, expert guests, and more to show you how. Stay tuned, because we're about to blast through the barriers of your business. Welcome to another episode of Demolition Success Secrets. We have one of our coolest episodes so far, I think, in the mix here. It took I'm going to say a little bit, but it was a lot of effort to land Simone. I searched all over San Antonio at the 50th anniversary. Boy, I mean, I can't believe the miles. Maybe it was partially me, but I was on that river walk just looking and searching, getting in my steps, of course, too. But we have Simone. She is a demolition diva. And really, really grateful to have you on the podcast today.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. That makes me feel good that you were looking for me. I was there for 2 days and then I had to go to another convention. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
So okay. I'm so glad to be here. Welcome to my little piece of heaven, which is my RV for the next 5 days. So I have worked like a dog in the last 6 months. I've not been out in my RV, and so we've got a big demolition starting in a week, and so I said this is going to be the calm before the storm. So here I am, and I'm so excited to do it from right here. By the way, her name is Pearl, my girl Pearl, and she was formed from an irritant. That's what I like to say. I think it's called divorce. and so I went out and found myself a hobby and found my girl Pearl. So welcome.
That is awesome. Is it a mother of pearl color on the outside or white?
Yes, it's all white. Yeah. Nice. It's been fun. I mean, you learn things through adversity, and that's really where my story starts with Demo Diva. We all tend to complain about the tough times in life and the irritant moments, or really the hard struggles. But if we really know how to capture that and encapsulate it, it really can turn into a pearl. And that is no pun intended. I mean it in all senses of the life lessons I've learned along the way.
Yeah. How do you do that? On a personal level and a business level, like, did something strike you? Did you listen to someone speak or some sort of media, or did you just take it over and go, you know what? I'm having challenges, our city's having challenges, our industry's having challenges. I'm going to take the ownership. I'm going to do something, sink or swim.
You asked the key question that I'm so happy you did. I learned it from Jesus. I learned it from my faith. When we die to self and just put other people before ourselves, truly to love thy neighbor more than yourself. You realize that right then, necessity is the mother of all invention. And when you give, it's the law of reciprocity. You cannot outgive God. And so by giving and by generosity, creativity is sparked. And that is absolutely where the idea came from. And I'll jump right into it, is I was walking and praying. I mean, Katrina had hit my city. I was flooded. My parents were flooded. My brother was flooded. Besides, from parish line to parish line in New Orleans, we were devastated. And then beyond. So, in Louisiana, we say parishes, not counties. So, many parishes were devastated. So I was laid off. My house was flooded. I didn't know, I was in the hospitality, corporate event planning industry, and that wasn't coming back. There were no conventions going to be coming back for 2 years. And so I literally was like, what am I going to do? I was offered to go work for a safari company, which would have been a fabulous job. It would have really taken me to New York and beyond. But when I sat around and I looked, and I saw, well, who's going to pick up the pieces of my house? I was single. Who's going to help my neighbor? Literally. And so just through that, the empathy and compassion and like a indignant rage to see the abuse of in any disaster, you've got the front runners are going to be the kind people, and right behind them are the vultures.
Right.
And so, when I started to see that, I was indignant. I was like, this is crazy. These are my people and this is my pain. And I took ownership of that. And that's when I said, I can do something here. So that's really where it started. Actually, it kind of started over a trash pile. And I'll tell you that story quickly.
Oh,
it's so funny because over a trash pile, God brought me, the answer. But everybody had to bring their trash out to the curb after Katrina. Like if you were gonna, you got your house and all of the white goods, your flooded sofas and clothing, and everything just had to be dragged out to the sidewalk. So everybody, like there was just mounds and mounds of trash, and you were notified that ROE was coming right of entry. So that gave everybody, the Bobcat guys and the white clothed guys to just grab your personals and load it out. So the night before, I was like, let me go see what's in everybody's trash pile. And again, like I was single, I didn't have kids, and that gave me the flexibility to kind of run around and go check things out. All my neighbors that were elderly or had kids had evacuated. So they had, and I was organizing the church parties, the church people to come and help gut the house and bring everything to the curb. So anyway, looking at my neighbor's trash pile, I'd see her wedding album and baby album. And it was in that moment, it was such a minor little thought, but God uses the small things to give big ideas. And I saw that and I said, wow, her pain is greater than my pain. Like I didn't lose a wedding album or a baby album. I just lost my first sofa. And I literally was panged in my heart. Like, I got to do something. Like, I got to do something. Like, so that really right there that was like the tiny little sand, as we're talking about pearls here, that was like the little sand particle that started to snowball into the idea of Demo Diva.
That's wild. Okay, so I would love to learn the lineage from that point on, how it evolved, because it could have been a charity, it could have been a business, it could have just been being an entrepreneur somewhere.
Yeah.
How did that end up leading, with those golden nuggets, leading to the gold mine, so to speak, of helping people, making a living, providing jobs? How did that evolve?
Okay, I am liking your line of questioning. You did say that I'm liking it. So, timing is everything. And so when I share my story, I really hope to inspire somebody. It's not just about the stories. We all have to walk away with, how does this apply to my life? And before we started the recording, you and I were talking about how the workplace has changed. Nobody stays in a place for 40 years anymore. And I had, I really realized that I was like, it was 10 months after the storm. And I realized I was like dancing back and forth. Am I going to go back to hospitality? I was like straddling this. But the more that I saw and smelled and I heard heavy equipment, and I want to paint the picture. The scene was dramatic, if not apocalyptic.
Wow.
Everything was gray. Everything was coated. New Orleans sat in a bowl of water for 17 days. You had just the smell of rottenness stayed in the air for probably 2 to 3 years. It was that smell of mold. And so I was straddling this, and as time wore on, I was like, okay, I was leading the church group out. I didn't have a job. I was living on my insurance money, this very money that I was supposed to use to rebuild my house. I was cannibalizing to just stay alive.
Yeah.
There were no jobs. It wasn't, I went and cooked pasta, jambalaya, and I was like, let me sell it to the workmen. I realized I didn't do a cost analysis. That wasn't the way to go. So I started 10 months after the storm, and where I go with this is that timing is everything. and where we are in life. It doesn't matter if you are 20, 30, or 50, or 65, and you know, 65, and you don't have retirement, you're freaking out saying, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Mm.
Timing is everything, and it is the way that you look through the prism. And at 10 months, I said, I love this. I'm seeing all this equipment swirling around my city. I never knew what an excavator was. I mean, I didn't know the name of a skid steer, a low boy, a hydraulic thumb. I mean, none of that mattered to me. As a matter of fact, I looked at that kind of crusty and dusty man on the side of the road. It's like, ugh, you know. But at 10 months, my perspective changed, and demolition was in full throttle. It was going on all over the city. And nice sandy lots were nice, cleared properties were everywhere. Nice canvases, as I like to say, for me to go and stick a sign out. So I literally was like, okay, I am going to focus on doing this for women. Demolition. Like, couldn't afford to demolish my own house. Everybody was teeter-tottering on what do I do? And these two Brazilian brothers, I was the first one to start gutting my house. And these two Brazilian brothers were assisting me. And so they said to me in Portuguese, "O que é seu problema? What's your problem?" Because I was like, oh my God, I like freaking out. And they said, do what you do for others, what you're doing for yourself. And I share that story because although I was educated with a university degree, and, you know, I had a high-heeled, nice life as a party planner in my city, and I went to nice places, restaurants, hotels, venues. It was in this moment of crisis. And so picture I'm painting is that it doesn't matter what timing it is in life for you. You've got to grab the crisis by the tail, harness that feeling, and launch yourself into a new direction. And it was in that place that I harnessed my pain. I had to really come to like self-reflection and say, okay, I'm never going back to hospitality. I love the smell of demolition. I love the sound of it. And I saw heavy equipment as the Calvary of hope. And to this day, that is my gospel. I believe that heavy equipment is the Calvary of hope. When a building in Florida, where you're from, collapses, people are really not going to dial 911. They may by you know, knee-jerk reaction, but the first person you're calling is a heavy equipment operator.
Right.
You know, a tornado hits, you're calling heavy equipment people, not an operator. I mean, a heavy equipment company. That's who's on stand. That's on speed dial within that county, parish, state government. Is that who's got the excavators? Who's got the dozers? Like, you need equipment to help clear. And that was the first time that it switched in my head, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. And so that was the first transition. And once I really embraced that vision of like, this isn't crusty and dusty and dirty, this is beautiful, and I want to be a part of something beautiful. That's when that was my first emotion. Now, my second emotion is what drives me a lot now. I mean, no, that drives me. Empathy drives me. But once I've gotten into it, I've been now in business 18 years. And after a while, you're like, okay, there's not a lot of empathy going on here. You don't want it always to be hurricane season, you know? So we pour from residential flooded houses to commercial and industrial demolition. But back to like, what was the next sequence of evolution? I love marketing. I love branding. And that was when, you know, the pearl took shape. So I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this scenario, okay? And I'm like, all these men who've you know, got their plowshares and their you know, front loaders down here. They pulled them from their farms, but they're not really businessmen, right? They really came to help. They came to help. But they didn't know marketing. So they would go in and clean these lots. So again, 10 months after the storm, and there was one company in town that had the demolition locked up. I mean, they had the TVs, commercials, the radio. They were everywhere. So they were the big dog in town. I was the flea. I was like the flea on the flea. And so
I never heard that one. That's good.
But these guys did not know marketing. So I started this. So nobody in my family was in construction. No one in my family. I have a very small family. My brothers and my dad are not in this line of work. So no cousins, no one to say, hey, let me introduce you. I had to introduce myself. And I did that through quick branding. And that was with $250, a $30 box of business cards, a pair of magnets for my car, and the rest were 100 yard signs that I had printed in hot pink and black at the time. And it said Demo Diva Demolition with my cell phone number. And I went out to about 100 properties within my neighborhood, asking permission or asking the neighbor to tell the owner, la, la, la. And I stuck my yard sign out on jobs that I did not do. That I was just saying, you know what? They didn't know how to leave their signature. They had long gone, moved on. They weren't even from New Orleans. And so I was going to say, well, I'm going to capture the marketing. I'm going to capture the messaging. And so that is what I did. I mean, now today it's, digital, through digital marketing, SEO buying. You're buying someone else's keywords. I mean, it's all, you're cutting people off at the pass with verbiage. At the time of 19 years ago, when Katrina hit, it was physical signage, or the back of the telephone book. So you can see how much marketing has morphed. But at that time, that is how I launched. And within 1 week, and this is the best part, the average cost of demolition, 20 years ago was $15,000. So what is 15,000 times 100? 1.5 million. It looked like I had just completed $1.5 million worth of work with no equipment, and perception is reality. It's like, bam, hit the ground running, and my phone blew up.
Wow.
And as the leads started coming in, I like to say I did not sell demolition. I sold trust. I said, trust me, I'm your neighbor. Trust me, I'm from here. Don't pay me till it's done. And then began the whole process of finding the right subcontractors.
Got it. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I was like, maybe you're a magician, just made the demolition happen. Okay, so you're kind of the face, the trust, the brand, and then you would find the subs. Let me ask you how, because some other people maybe have done this or thought of doing it. How did you find the right subs? How did you network that? How did you figure out who's honest and who's willing to do the work right?
Through very, very hard lessons. And every time I failed or lost money or was robbed, I just told myself, well, that was, a college course. I kept saying, you just paid for that, literally. And I mean, I had to learn self-talk. And that's another thing. I just spoke to a technical community college this week, and the average age in that course for construction, people who were starting second careers, was 35. I looked around the room, it looked a little bit older than that. And I said, when you really are going into something new, you've got to learn self-talk, self-coach. Talk to yourself kindly, firmly. You really have to have those quiet moments when you're in transition, because you've got to scan your thoughts and what just happened. And I had to spend a lot of time alone, because I was learning so much, and it was coming in. I was drinking from a fire hose, like, no pun intended. And you're watching the character of these people. I mean, I found a guy who buried so much debris. I had to,
Mhm.
I didn't tell the homeowner. I quickly went and found someone else to dig it up and resolve the situation. But I was not going to, I mean, I knew that I was from this town and my name was always going to be associated with quality work, or I wanted it to be. So that was one thing that I had to really weed out. And it's taken a long time. As a woman in this business, you know, buying equipment. Oh my God. Like on
Mhm.
my knees, I say, like God have mercy. It has been the most difficult thing. No mentor, no friend to say, you don't need this or that. Um, until really, and I mean this with all sincerity, my friendship with Volvo Heavy Equipment.
Mhm.
They're not a vendor to me. They have been so good to me. Um, down from the local salesperson to um all the way up. They've seen that I'm, a first generation demolition person. So I just recently bought a 300 Volvo, and they sat with me and explained everything about the reach, the pull. And these were things that I didn't know in the beginning. I mean, I was like, I had a pocket full of money and I was like, okay, that looks good. Let's go with that. This is like 3 or 4 years after I'd already been in business. I subbed for 3 years. And then
Okay.
I realized they got to go. They all got to go.
Oh, that's funny. And you know what's crazy? I actually have a client, and he's kind of in this whole area of there's like a no man's land he references. There's the side of you sub everything and you stay the face, the branding, the marketing, get the leads, that kind of thing. Or there's the chasm, the no man's land. And then there's the side of self-performing everything. So it kind of sounds like you went from this side to this side. Was there a no man's land that you encountered, between insurance and equipment and renting versus owning and team member? Like, how is that no man's
Absolutely.
land? It seems very dark.
Absolutely. I did not know. Okay, I mean this is a true confession, and this is goes to show you why I think home ec needs to come back to the schools, that trades need to be coming back to the schools, because I'm of a generation that was like, oh, so pristine, don't get your hands dirty. And that
Mm,
is the biggest disservice to women. Okay. That is the biggest lie, to sit around and wait to be taken care of. No. But I did not know, drum roll, that scrap metal was money. I did not
okay.
know that you sell copper. I did not know that when I'm tearing down these buildings, like I did not know the process of where debris goes. I just was like, okay, you're the trucking company, just make it go away. Well, until I got a strip mall, and behind the strip mall was a copper line that was like literally this thick of copper wires that ran probably about 300 feet long.
Mm.
And some poor soul laborer realized that I did not know. And he came up to me and like said, this is money and you sell this, right? And I was like, oh no, I didn't know. And so that was like that was before I bought my equipment. And that was like, okay, that was the game changer. Like, oh my gosh, I need to take more control of this. I really had thought that it would probably bottom out and I'd probably just go right back to uh, hospitality industry. And I think in the beginning, I don't know, like sometimes I've Demo Diva, the name has, I mean, at the gate, it was supposed to be kitschy and fun, but then I didn't have this tremendous vision, that it was going to like really grow. And then actually I would become a global voice for the
Mm.
demolition industry. And I say that in a light sense. I mean, I've been invited to Japan to speak after the tsunami. Um, And so I've been invited by the World Demolitions, the World Demolition Summit twice to speak on my journey. So, you know, I'm not a diva, and I didn't, so, but it's worked. It's worked for
Right.
me. And so those are the balances of like the no man's land that you're referring to, is like the things you learn that are huge gaps that
Mm,
um that could either like ruin you or launch you. And I had a few of them. I mean, I started in 2006. Well, we know what came 2 years later, and that's
right.
2008.
Mm.
And so that was tough. Um, so yep.
It's amazing how much, even at the conference in San Antonio, I heard the reference of like '07, '08 so many times. It was fascinating to me because I'm involved with the demolition business. I'm not a demolition company owner myself, but I guess maybe external perspectives go, oh, there's so much money, there's so much opportunity. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is when money's flowing, things are rock and rolling. You could still have indigestion, take on too much and go under. It's not always just the starvation that causes, going under, but you have payroll, you have equipment, you have insurance, all these different things, those bills keep coming irregardless of whether your pipeline is paying, whether your pipeline is full with opportunities that you actually want to take on. Yeah, the '07, '08 thing, it was really interesting because I heard it numerous times during the conference and I was like, wow, not just real estate, not just the stock market, everyone felt pain from that. What were
I
some of
would
your lessons through that
I would
time?
I'll jump in there. I would say if I had to put a barometer on things right now, I'm saying I'm feeling it now.
Mm,
Feeling it right now. Um Last year, it's like someone turned off the faucet. Um the demolition industry is the first one of the first. I mean, in construction and economy, and you can measure things from restaurants and elsewhere as well, of course. But I feel like in the trades, in the construction trade, we're the first ones on site. And if I'm not moving, the people coming behind me aren't going to be moving either. And it has significantly slowed down. In a
really?
significant,
Okay.
yes. And so I've heard other people say, um, no, I assure you, it has significantly slowed down. If people, some other people are working saying, "Oh, we're busy," well, they had their pipeline already full, but I've had two projects or three now on hold because banks and interest rates are, got people scared. The equipment yards, rental yards, are slowed down big time,
Mm,
particularly with demolition equipment. So it's I'm seeing it now. It could, like, it's kind of like the train that starts, and it's election year, so we all know that. But
right.
it's weathering that for me, and for medium sized businesses. Yes, lean up, um, cut where you can, and save when you can. So when the money is flowing, and that those were my first few years, I did have that innate sense of money.
Mhm,
Um, when I started those first 3 years, I saved. I
mhm.
saved, I saved, I saved. And so when the day came, about 3.5 years into it, to go buy my first excavator, I was positioned. But yeah, it is about weathering the storms. Through the good times and bad. I mean, you have to have a healthy uh relationship with money.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like a walk run. There's this guy I know, and I shouldn't say I know him. He's like an influencer on LinkedIn and he does competitive runs and things, and he has a really weird style where he'll walk and run, walk and run, walk and run. I think he runs more than he
Good.
walks. His name is like Jesse Eisler. He's married to the Spanx owner, Sarah
Okay.
Blakely, and they live in
Okay.
Atlanta where I lived for most of my life. So yeah, it's almost kind of similar to that, because you can run, but you might burn out. You might fall during the race and collapse. There is something to be said, and almost this is kind of how my brain's interpreting it, is you're possibly saying, you can do both. If you run, times are going to stall, things are going to slow up. If you have all these people, all this equipment, all this payroll, all these, bills, and, the market's not running like you're running internally, there's a big gap and a chasm, and you can't make up for that all the time, even if you've been in business for 20 years or something. So is that
Right.
kind of what you're saying? Like, it's okay to
I love-
run. It's also okay to walk. You got to kind of pace yourself almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your analogy. I'm going to have to use that. I like that. Yeah. Tag me with that guy. And,
Okay.
yeah, on Instagram. Um, yeah, there's been seasons, and I look back, and, when I started, I was 33. And I'm like, where did the time go? And I know we hear our grandparents say that, and literally it's a blink. It's a blink, and it's really precious time. I look back over the years of, the good times and the bad times. They're all good. They were all good. But there were lessons along the way. I am really happy now to see women coming into this industry. I really want to encourage women to look into the demolition trade. The National Demolition Association is a wonderful resource. The tools, the safety talks, the foundations class that will get you certified as a demolition professional is wonderful. I really wish I had that out the gate when I first started. Um, it's something that, even if you're starting very, very small and you're going to like go after like strip malls, gutting little stores in your local mall, that type of like person is very easy. It's just heavy labor. It's not some saw cutting, some sawzall, cutting pipes, but it's light demolition. And you don't need a lot of money to start up in that. I mean, I didn't that was not where I went. I went straight out into the heavy equipment, running and gunning with the guys. But I think it's now I'm starting to see more and more women in it. So I do encourage people who are looking. I interviewed a mother and daughter who were house cleaners, and they got into a technical community college, and they started to learn the construction aspect. And they went to work for NASA in the like in the fuselage tank, like drilling, the grommets and whatnot. And so, demolition or not, the construction industry for women has truly, like, the gates are wide open now.
Yeah, and in the demolition sphere, I feel a lot of the people who are at the convention, they care. They've been in it for a long time, or they haven't, but they're showing up. Some of them probably don't even need to be there, but they care. Like, they want to lead, they want to stay cutting edge, they want to be with the players and things like that. So it's like accepting and welcoming is what I'm trying to say. Like, it was
Yeah.
my first time there, and I would say, for the most part, everyone treated you very nicely and were kind and open. It was cool. It wasn't like
Yeah.
hardcore. You think of construction, you think of hardcore, and everyone's got calluses everywhere, and you shake their hand, you're like, oh my gosh, I just shook, like almost like how the pickleball thing feels. It's like, it's really grippy and nasty and weird.
Yeah.
They're cool. Everyone was like super welcoming.
It is. It's really family run business. You know, a lot of the big guys are three generations deep, and that's beautiful. Um, I love seeing a couple minorities now coming in, and not just women. So that's been it's a transitioning industry. I think that as we see a lot more weather and extreme, disaster situations, fires and things, it's an industry that's going to start jumping in elevation is what I'm trying to say. But yeah.
I'm thinking even of Hawaii with the fires and everything.
Yeah.
There's
And then
always
Florida,
something.
I mean, every
Right.
season, I mean, there's a bullet coming towards y'all or us. I mean, we're on the coast too, So we're watching, and that's really where I've transitioned. So in my growth, I've gone from flooded houses, residential, to we did commercial and industrial. We're taking down a large water tower. Starting that's why I'm here in my RV, because that's the big job that's about to start, and I'm like, oh Lord, it's gonna be a doozy. And then disaster, disasters, relief, and working in those communities where we move. We just had a tornado right here in my 3 blocks from home, in Slidell, Louisiana last week. So tore up about a mile radius of so it's just coming. It's just more extreme now, and so to be ready. I mean, the frontliners are the demolition people, the bobcats, the self loaders, the trucks. So yeah,
That's cool. And I'm going to be respectful of time. We have a few more minutes. I'm free. I'm as free as could be. This is fascinating. I do want to learn because my background's marketing and everything. So you mentioned a few things, SEO and online and all these things. We talk to people like in my world, in my career, they're demolition owners primarily. And man, I'll talk to big guys like $70 million a year, $30 million, like, very, very solid companies, some even multiple $100 million a year. And I'm like, why are you talking to me? Don't you like own the whole market? What have you seen through that marketing? You did, guerrilla marketing, great branding, really smart. I mean, I thought I was listening to a billionaire talking about their startup, just really scrappy. Keep doing that within reason. That stuff, it should never go away. How did that evolve, and what are you guys doing now? What works? What's a waste of time and money? Like, how do you fill that pipeline, and how has it evolved for you?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I did after my little yard sign, I was like, okay, that's not really work. People didn't want that in their yard, quickly, after Katrina. So that worked for about a year while the city was sparse, and then think about it. Do you really want like a plastic sign, next door all the time? So as time wore on, I did all the demolition for the project called Make It Right. Brad Pitt had come to town, and it was launching this project. So in the Ninth Ward, yeah. So I did the initial demolition down there, and I saw the opportunity. It was just like people were driving through, and I was like, huh, I'm going to get a pink dumpster down here. So I was going to make my dumpster stand out from everybody else's dumpster. So I went to the head of construction. I said, would you mind if I put some dumpsters here? And he said, are you in the dumpster business? And I said, no, but I'm going to I'm just going to, I didn't have the trucks to haul the dumpsters. And so that is what I did. I started to buy dumpsters for the next 5 years, a little at a time. But the difference was I painted them hot pink, and you'll notice in your town where there's dumpsters, nobody does dumpsters like the Demo Diva. I actually welded a 12-foot panel, 4 by 12 on both sides, spent the extra money, and made them my mobile billboards.
Cool.
So the dumpsters were not just what has evolved now today is the dumpsters are not just on Demo Diva sites. It's a whole nother line of business, a revenue stream for me. And I've got 200 dumpsters all over town, and that's where people have said, Demo Diva, we see you everywhere. Well, they really see my dumpster company, but our demolition, I only own 4 pieces of heavy equipment. I mean, I'm like tiny. You go to the demolition conference and you ask everybody, like, they're owning like 30 pieces of equipment, 50 pieces of
Jeez.
equipment. And so 18 years in, I have not put my money into heavy equipment. That's what I was saying. I always seem to buy the wrong thing. I bought the wrong lowboy, I bought the wrong triaxle. I mean, it was like, you can't buy one triaxle. You've got to buy like 4 because you need them like flowing. It's just been a whole lot. I've learned by the time this is all said and done, I'm like, okay, that's what I wish somebody would have told me in maybe 1 year. My grandfather could have taught me in 1 year. But, the journey in this, in the marketing and in the growing of a business. And I liked how Oprah said it. Once you arrive, it's boring. Like it's the journey. The journey is the success, and it's learning and evolving. And so the dumpsters has been today one of our biggest. I mean, it's what got me voted one of New Orleans icons, is because of the dumpsters. And then of course the heavy, once they see the hot pink excavator, I mean, that's quite inspirational, even for me. And I seem to, own the business, or I don't know if it owns me, but, I'll see my excavator. I'll be on the opposite side of the interstate, and I'll have, the lowboy company moving my equipment, and I'll see it on the other side of the interstate. And I'm like, wow, like that's different. And I know that that's how the reaction is in New Orleans. I'm homegrown. I was grown for the city, by the city. And so when they see that equipment moving around, there's like you go, girl. So that branding and that the persona behind the brand is really what is translated now into social media. And, I think that as we grow our brands and as we grow our voice or whatever company you're in, you've got to attach that emotion to what you're doing, because behind every business, behind every decision is an emotion. And that's where people are buying or making decisions from. It's the soft sell, right? So, I mean, some days it's like inspirational. Hey, we're taking down, the old water tower filled with lead to lead paint, to, hey, we've just cleared this and a brand new, playground is coming. Or a young couple is building a car wash for a first business. I mean, these are the things that, so once you attach the story and the emotion behind the demolition or whatever it is, like I have pictures of me speaking to the technical community college. When you see the faces of everybody, you're like, you see someone's journey and you kind of want to buy in. So that's where marketing has gone for me, is to tell the story on social media. And my next launch that is why I'm actually here. Believe it or not, I swear to you, I am rewriting my website today. The next 5 days. So yes, and I want everybody to go look at my website right now, because you're going to see that when I came out with this 10 years ago, and I've neglected my website because I got, and this is the funny. Now we're talking about my favorite topic, marketing.
Yeah, me too.
I love it. And so it's kind of like the cobbler's kids have no shoes. Right. That's me. I love marketing so much that I froze in I over the years, I just became paralyzed. I actually built a website 3 years ago. And the reason why I didn't hit launch is because I said, but that's not me. I felt like I had not gone through my own personal messaging journey. And you have to sit with yourself and just journal and message. And so I was like, I didn't pull the trigger on that. And so now I have, and I'm coming out the gate more with a new look. And that look that you're seeing that was from 10 years ago was me specifically saying, no, I want to look like a boutique demolition company, because I personally wanted to go see all the customers. I wanted to talk to everybody. I want to be in the mix. I just loved it. And I wasn't wanting to bring in an estimator. I didn't want to relinquish control. I didn't
Mm,
want to allow the business to grow beyond what I could hug and touch and blah, blah, blah. But I've done a disservice to it. I'm older. It's time to step back and let a new generation run with this. And that comes with the new, digital look. So that's what I'm working on.
that is cool. Give a shout out to the address so people can look it up. I'm sure they could find you really easily, but just so we could make it real simple for anyone listening.
So my website is www.demodiva.com. Also follow us at Demo Diva on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. That is really my funnest social media platform. I do Facebook, it links to it, but I do not have TikTok. So I would love to get some shout out from those listeners.
Awesome.
And
A
LinkedIn, of
good.
course. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, the professional side, the fun side. Good phone number for people to call you guys, if they
Sure.
need work to be done.
Yep. It's 504-486-4121. We are based, home is New Orleans, Louisiana, but we are running up and down the Gulf Coast from Panama City to Texas.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
That is cool. Last few questions is with that marketing part, getting the site redone, you mentioned SEO. Do you guys run a lot of ads? Do you do, a lot of keywords with SEO? Do you outsource it? Do you have someone in-house? Obviously, you're doing the website. That's amazing.
Yeah. I actually have finally realized that I can't even do the marketing anymore. And I have gone with I've hired a CMO, a chief marketing officer, which I highly recommend. And this is again the transition of where the workplace is, and it's a fractional marketing company. So you don't have to take on an employee with major expense, and they bring all the back of house to
Cool.
to the table. So if anyone is interested in that company that I'm working with, I'd love to refer them directly. So contact me with that. But I had interviewed different, I mean, I've gone through the gamut. Two companies, gave me a price tag of what I needed to do with my HubSpot and ramping up my digital newsletters, $65,000.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, come again?
Right.
And so I
Oh
was like,
God.
it's eye
$65,000.
watering. Yes, yeah, and not one, but two, exact same price from two different companies. So I was like, no thanks.
Wow.
So I am super happy. I'm on my way. It's been a long journey to take. June 1st, we'll make not June 1st, June 10th, but we'll talk June 1st. We'll make 18 years in business. So she will
Congrats.
have Demo Diva will have a new dress to wear to the ball.
That is cool.
Oh,
It's
we're
like you
excited.
guys, your teenager is becoming an adult, and it's your baby of a company, so to
Yeah,
speak, is becoming an
yeah,
adult, which is
yeah.
pretty amazing.
I'd like to leave with one proverb that a customer gave to me, and it was a hard lesson, but it's something that stuck with me. So somebody on this call will like to hear it. Um, this Indian man from India had come to me, and he had bought 10 barges, barging up and down the Mississippi, and they were old and they needed to be scrapped. So it's they're called barge breaking. And so this is very early on, and like I was probably in business 5 years. And he said, I got your name. I'd like to do business with you. We met, we sat down, and I went out, he explained what the business was. And I said, okay, let me go do some research where I could pull this onto shore and a dry dock. And in my research, I realized that the largest barge breaking company was in the area, and they owned all the dry docks. So I went back to him and I said, listen, you're going to have to float these further down the river there's really no dry dock around here. Like, this is the most competition is right. Your competition's right here. And he said these words to me. He said, Simone, does the tree say to the forest, today I shall not grow because there is no room for me? He said, everyone pushes up to the light. And he goes, there is room for me to grow in this market, and I'll find a dry dock. I said, okay. And guess what? He did, and I did not do that job. And I lost out on a huge opportunity to learn something and to make huge money. And it's one of the hardest lessons I learned.
Mm.
But I always think of that analogy. Does the tree to say to the forest, I cannot grow? A tree is going to push to the light. You never know when disease is going to strike a tree, lightning's going to strike a tree, and there's going to just be poof, room for you to just, and that is what happened to me. The largest demolition company in New Orleans that had the airwaves locked up, everything, they are nowhere to be found. And who's standing 18 years later?
Whoa. Crazy.
So, you just keep pushing, push on to the light. Go make your pearl.
That is wild. Okay, I love it. We'll cap it with that. I have one or two more questions to ask you, but I'll do it offline. So I guess we're good to go on that. Is that that's the pearl, Simone? Good to go?
That's the pearl. That's the pearl. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on, guys. This has been another I shouldn't even say guys, that's not even correct. Everyone, guys, girls, everything. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you're going to be having, listen, you are going to, I appreciate you searching out women. As hard as it is to find the few of us in this industry, they're going to start coming to you.
Yeah, love it. Well, I hope so. I want to mix it up a little bit, and your story too, just very different. I've heard a lot of great stories, but different relative to what we've had. So like that goes to speak to, we need everything. So thank you so much. This has been a great episode. You and I are about to hang on the line. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much. Check out Simone's upcoming website. She's already got a great website, but her volume 2. The baby is becoming a teenager and is getting its license, becoming a full adult. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks.
See you guys.
That's a wrap for this episode of Demolition Success Secrets. Stay tuned and subscribe for more explosive insights from our upcoming episodes. Until then, continue to blow up your demolition business and make the competition rubble in your path.